One. Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is Dan Kelly, who is President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Thanks again for joining us, Dan.
Good to be with you again, Mario.
Dan, let's bring us up to date on a few of the federal support programs that have been in place for the past year and a bit. The business account, the rent subsidy, and the wage subsidy. Can you run through each one of those right now for us and tell us what's happening with those programs or what's not happening?
Yeah, well, look, it's a big worry. The issue that we're hearing almost more about than any other at CFIB right now, and that is that just as businesses are getting back to a little bit closer to normal. The government is already starting to ratchet back the support programs that have been incredibly important. Right now, only 35% of our members right across Canada, 35% of small businesses have normal levels of revenue. It's great that a third are back to somewhere closer to normal, but 2/3 aren't. And yet the federal government has, with the Canada Emergency Business Account, ended the program altogether. That was the program that provided $60,000 loans. $20,000 of those loans were forgivable. And the government has now closed that program to new applications. Anything in process can still continue, but no new apps after this. The bigger concern that I'm hearing about from more and more business owners, though, is about the rent subsidy and the wage subsidy. That's the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy. These are the programs that provide both wage and rent support to businesses that don't have revenues that are at normal levels. So if you have a loss in your revenue, you qualify to have a percentage of that covered by the federal government through a subsidy program. It doesn't replace your whole wage bill. It certainly doesn't replace your whole rent bill, but it does at least provide a little bit of relief until your sales are materializing, and then you can replace subsidies with sales. The sad part is for many of these businesses is that the generosity of those programs is on a pretty tight ramp down at the point where their revenues are either stagnant or non-existent in many cases. So I've been hearing from tour operators, travel agents, both of whom book their revenue after their sales are completed, months after their sales are completed, that are really worried that right now they actually need some staff to book these kinds of things, but they're not able to qualify then for the wage and the rent subsidy, or the subsidies are starting to decline rapidly. Meanwhile, they may not get any revenue from those bookings until 2022. So it's a really difficult circumstance for thousands and thousands of businesses in various sectors of the economy. And we're urging the feds to put the brakes on their plan to phase out both the rent and the wage subsidy. They're supposed to be gone altogether by late September.
So I understand you started a petition, correct?
Yes. So we've got a petition campaign out right now from CFIB. It's available on our website. And it urges the Minister of Finance, the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, to put the brakes on the reduction in the wage and the rent subsidy. I want to be clear, look, these programs are super costly. And we are not advocating for ongoing subsidies forever. I mean, that's not a good thing for the economy, nor is it affordable for us as taxpayers. We are going to have to end these programs at some stage. The problem, though, is that if we end them too soon, these businesses that right now are not seeing their sales materialize are going to collapse. And that's not going to serve taxpayers well either, to see these businesses out altogether. For goodness sakes, Ontario just lifted its restrictions a week ago, not even a week ago. So businesses are just opening their doors. In many parts of the country, they're facing ongoing capacity restrictions, meaning that a bowling alley, for example, in several provinces can only serve half of its normal levels of customers, meaning there's no way for them to earn a profit or to get back to normal until those further restrictions are lifted. So until all that happens, until the government has lifted all the border restrictions, so tourism is back to normal, until sales are materializing, until public health officials can tell us all it's time to go back to the office, it's time to go back to theater, to dining, to entertainment. When all of those things have happened, then we can start the ramping down of these programs. We should, but that's not today. I mean, for goodness sakes, we have businesses that still are able to aren't even able to serve their customers anywhere close to normal, let alone seeing their customers return.
Yeah, with all these programs and support and all the uncertainty out there, I continue to see, if you could talk about this, the labor shortages out there. Like I continually see in Calgary, these restaurants looking for peoples and their ads. I see them all on social media, on Facebook. Earl's looking for staff, or or whatever. And it's almost like a daily thing. Is that the challenge that's going to be presented here in right now and in the near future?
It's a big one. Look, as businesses reopen, they're facing a bunch of things. One, they're facing an uncertain future in terms of the number of sales that they're going to be able to bring back. The subsidies are being cut. Their costs for many things, for retailers, the costs of shipping goods or receiving them is significantly higher. Cost of business insurance is significantly higher. And they're struggling to get back their staff. Remember, the sectors that were hardest hit by the pandemic were retail, restaurants, hospitality and tourism, arts and entertainment businesses, the bowling alleys, the movie theaters, all these business, personal services like hair salons, nail salons, all these businesses that would depend on face-to-face transactions with their customers. What's one thing all those sectors that I just mentioned have in common? They all employ a large number of part-time workers who try to fit school around their work, who may have kids at home, so they take a few shifts wherever they can. And right now, for part-time workers, the government has provided and needed to provide some wage supports. You'll remember last year that was called the CERB program that provided $500 a week if you lost your job through no fault of your own, including for the self-employed. That's now been replaced with something called the CRB stream under EI. The government did, to its credit, reduce that from $500 to $300 a week, but still, if you work really part-time, if you work a couple of shifts a week, you are making more on this $300 a week program than you did while you were working. And then, of course, public health officials have told us for months and months to stay home, to avoid leaving our basements. So, none of that sets us up well to try to get back people efficiently into the jobs, especially in these hardest hit sectors of the economy. That's going to be a real reality for business owners and will prevent them from recovering. So let's say you're lucky enough to have customers that want to come to your restaurant, want to come to your movie theater or bowling alley, but you can't serve them because you don't have the staff. You're not going to be able to get your business income back. Businesses are trying to do their best. They're wherever they can trying to increase wages. But how do you do that when you're sitting on at the average of $170,000 in debt, and you're struggling even to pay your existing workers, never mind trying to bring back people? It's a pretty big chicken and egg challenge for small business owners. I'm hoping it's going to be temporary, just as the economy reopens, but it is one of the most pressing issues, especially for provinces like Alberta, like Saskatchewan, like BC, that are further ahead on the reopening front than other parts of Canada.
Let me ask you, when you look forward, press the button, fast forward a bit to the time when we are back to quote unquote normal, and that we're done with this pandemic, and everybody has declared, the governments have declared, okay, well, it's officially over, all that. What's the legacy going to be from all this for small business? I'm thinking not the ones that don't make it, but the ones that make it through, the existing businesses. What are they going to have to deal with? What's their reality going to be in the new world?
Well, look, my crystal ball is no less foggy than anyone else's, but here's a few things that we do know. We do know that more people have been working from home than ever before, and some of that is likely to continue post-pandemic. We do know that Canadians have moved significantly towards online commerce, especially online retail commerce. And so that trend line, one assumes, which was there pre-pandemic, but has taken a giant tick up over the last number of months. So that will certainly continue.
Yeah.
Those two things alone, and there are many others, but those two things alone have pretty significant implications for a lot of small firms. For example, if people are working from home for a much larger chunk of their week, what does that mean for downtown areas? I mean, for goodness sakes, Calgary had significant challenges even pre-COVID, given the reduction in the oil company presence in the downtown core. But now with working from home, it means potentially some positive things for suburban businesses, and obviously really deep harm to downtown businesses. If you're the local dry cleaner in the downtown core, the restaurant in the downtown core, you may not see many of your customers back for some time. The other thing, of course, with more retail commerce, do more and more businesses just give up storefronts altogether and go entirely online? What are the implications of that as it rolls out through the economy? Many businesses have struggled to try to get their products online. And of course, when you do that, you have to compete against giants like Amazon. So there are some big struggles ahead. I will say, though, that there are opportunities for businesses at the same time. That there are new avenues, new types of businesses that will be created. The whole ghost restaurant idea, where there's no retail trade in the restaurant, but it's set up entirely to take advantage of delivery apps, and they serve multiple types of, they're making Chinese food and pizza and sandwiches and delivering them all from a warehouse location with cheap rent. But they're doing that through the delivery apps. I mean, there's all sorts of new business activities that will happen. My worry, though, is that we need Canadians to make a point of patronizing smaller independent businesses if we want them to remain around. And that's why we've got this campaign, Small Business Every Day, that is trying to encourage Canadians, a pretty significant contest right now, both for the consumer that nominates a business that they love, and also some rewards up to 10 grand for a business through a contest that CFIB is leading. These are the kinds of campaigns we're going to need if we want Canadians to return to the small businesses that traditionally we have supported.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Anytime, Mario.
All right, super. That's Dan Kelly, President, CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.